Hey guys, it's Kevin here, and I'm just going to be going over the two Immersion RC products here and the Alien build I have. Trying to answer your question on, you guys have $500, should you build it or should you buy it? So stay tuned. Alright guys, I'd like to just get started with the Immersion RC Vortex 285 folding arm quad here. So let's just talk a little bit about the specs of this guy. So first thing is this is actually not full ready to fly. You actually need to provide both a battery, charger for that battery, your own transmitter and receiver, as well as your own FPV goggles and monitor. The same is said for the Vortex Pro and the Alien here. So these three do need your own transmitter, receiver, as well as battery, charger, goggles, monitor, and so on. But if you have those, these are your three options, and you can either choose to build or buy in this price range. I think these are three really good options. So the folding arm 285, it's about a year and 2 months old now at the time of filming this. Still a really great quad because the price point is down to $400 for this, whereas the Vortex Pro here is, I believe, $479 or $499 if you get it with the zipper case, and the Alien here came to right about $500. But the Vortex 285 comes with 1806 motors that can handle 4-cell, so if you want to start with a 3-cell and build your way up, if you're a beginner, you can do that. I would recommend just buying a 4-cell and just limiting the top end of your throttle, but that's a discussion for another time. Go see Thomas Bardwell, he makes some really great reviews on that. So the Vortex 285 here, really great quad. Only downside right off the bat for you is I really don't like the camera on it. It uses a CMOS, I think it's a 600 TV line camera that doesn't handle light change very well. So that's the one thing that I would swap out. You can easily switch it to an HS 1177, which you can see I've already done on my Vortex Pro because it comes with the same camera. But that's really my only gripe about this one in terms of just being able to fly. That makes it very difficult. There's a couple other minor things that I'll go into, but let's talk about the Vortex 250 now. So the Vortex 250, this quad I fly a lot. It is extremely durable. It's got 4mm thick carbon fiber arms. I believe it's a 1.5 mil top plate and 1 mil bottom plate. But this thing is a freaking tank. It does weigh a lot, as I'll weigh it later and show you the weight on that. But this thing is built really solidly. One of the things that I, again, don't like is the camera. I put an HS 1177 on it, and the receiver mounting location back here. It's not the most ideal locations because I've had times where you flip it over backwards and you come in the ground, it just completely rips your receiver off, and that's really not good. Thankfully, it was just a cheap Lemon RX receiver, but since then I've upgraded to Tyrannus and using the FR Sky, so that way I can run S-Bus, which I would say most people aren't going to notice that latency difference. I actually do notice it a big amount ever since I've started to train and practice every single day, so that does make a noticeable difference. But another thing is, antenna kind of sticks up in the middle here, and this little SMA connector does get loose from time to time, so that is something that you'll have to take all the bolts off and get to the frame on the underside, but it is easy to get to that. You just have to take a bunch of screws off, so that is a nice benefit of this thing. But it comes with just standard, I believe they're Cobra 22 or 04 motors, 2300 kV. Don't know if they're actually Cobra motors or not. Somebody can let me know of that. But they're overall really nice quality motors. Don't have the kind of performance and punch out that the motors on the Alien have, but they still do provide a good bit of fun for what you're getting. Now let's move on to the Alien, and I'll go over some of the specs on this thing. So the big advantage right off the bat of the Alien is you're starting with a bare bones frame. You have to build everything, put it all together, but the advantage is you get to handpick every single one of your components. So you do have to solder and know how to solder it pretty well if you want this thing to be as durable as these and last. And thankfully, I'm fairly decent at soldering, and I've crashed this thing hundreds and hundreds of times, and it's Hasn't broken a solder joint yet or anything, knock on wood, but this thing is extremely durable. So with mine, I've chosen to go the whole Rotor Riot build, so I'm using the Lumineer 2206 2350 kV motors. Just got some 5x4x3 props. I believe they're HQ. Also running those in my Vortex Pro. I really like those props. Running the KISS 24 amp ESCs and then the KISS flight controller, which is pretty much top of the line stuff in terms of the quadcopter hardware that you can get nowadays. I really think they have some of the best quality stuff in the business. Again, an HS 1177 in the front. Some of my other quads, I run a RunCam Swift as well, which is essentially the same thing and does the job just as well. So now that we've covered the basic specs, let's give each of these away. So the first one is the Vortex 285 folding arm quad. So we'll just set that on there. So it comes in at a relatively light 345 grams, which is why it still works just fine with the 1806 motors. Then we have the Vortex Pro here. That comes in at a hefty 456 grams, but you do have to understand that this thing is a tank and it will not break. And then somewhere in the middle here, we have the Alien that comes in at 352 grams, which is why this thing is an absolute power horse. Alright, so I really specifically want to talk between the Vortex Pro and the Alien because I think they are really close competitors to another. The Vortex 285 is a little bit out of there. It's more of a beginner-focused quad, but it is still really good value for the money, and I would recommend it for a beginner getting into it. Only downside I see of it is just the way that these arms snap on. It tends to get a little bit loose over time. You can replace those with hard mounts. It kind of defeats the whole purpose of having the folding arms. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of doing that. But overall, I think that's kind of where the lack of sturdiness in the frame kind of hurts your flight performance a little bit. But with the Vortex Pro, they've solved that by just making these solid bolted carbon fiber arms. So I really appreciate that they did that. But now let's take a look at kind of some of the main differences between the Alien and the Vortex Pro. So right now I have the same exact camera on both of these 1177s, same exact props. I'm running S-Bus on both of these. I have an X4R on the Alien in the back here at the bottom and an X8R just because that's all I had lying around at the time when I wanted to put my receiver on here. But in terms of flight characteristics, this thing is going to get destroyed by the Alien in power and speed, but thankfully it doesn't have to because you have a lot more confidence to be able to go through some really tight sections with this and just go crazy because you know that no matter what, this thing is going to be durable and it's not going to break. I've crashed this thing onto asphalt. Show you some marks here. Chipped the carbon fiber a little bit. I don't know if you can see that well. I've scuffed up the back plate there a little bit on some asphalt. That's when I destroyed a Lemon RX receiver when I was flying this with my DX6i. But overall, really durable quad. This quad so far has been extremely good to me and very durable. I fly this one a lot more than this guy just because of the sheer power and fun of this thing. When you do a power loop, it just cruises throughout the entire loop, no problem whatsoever. This one, you really gotta know exactly where you're placing it. But the main thing that I take away from comparing these two is that I still have fun flying the Vortex Pro. Even though I have the Alien, I still do like to fly the Vortex Pro from time to time. And I kind of relate it to kind of the Mazda Miata in a sense, even though this is in no way underpowered in the sense that a Miata most people would typically call as underpowered. But this really forces you to kind of learn the basics of FPV flying and getting the actual hand-eye coordination down for going through tight gaps, getting those hard rolls and timing your hand motions to the quads and just really getting a good feel for the sticks. And then once you're ready on this one, you can move on to this. But even then, going back to the Vortex Pro, it's still fun because it gives you a good challenge because you have to learn when you don't necessarily have as much power, how to be able to get out of situations. So it teaches you some other ways to fly, which I really like a lot. Alright, so I just wanted to make a couple final last comments here. If you have the skills to be able to solder, program the flight controller, which is relatively easy, it's mostly just the soldering and the patience and time to build one of these. I highly recommend it because for the money, you're going to get a lot more performance and have a lot more knowledge of the drone that you're building and how to fix it when things go wrong, versus when you just buy the Vortex Pro here. You don't necessarily know how everything works on the inside. There's a little bit less of an understanding of how all the programming works and everything, but you do get some of the benefits, like having an on-screen display, a really nice user interface with that. With my Alien, I don't have an OSD, so I just run a timer, which does limit my flight times because I can't see the battery voltage. I know you can set it up with telemetry, but I haven't done that at this point. So that's one of the reasons why I think if you want something that just has a really nice overall package and just visually works really nicely and looks really good when you're flying because you have that full OSD that you can customize, then you're going to want to go with the Vortex Pro if performance isn't the top thing on your list. But if you're interested in something that just is going to outperform everything else out there and is top of the line product, then you're going to want to go with something a lot closer to the Alien build or something along these lines. So for this shootout, I'm going to go with the Alien just because if you have the time and effort to put it in, the performance and results you get out of this thing are just leaps and bounds above this thing. So thanks for watching.